Hello everyone. Let us continue with our discussion on Introduction to Mechanics of Material. Now before we advance further, let us briefly revise about the basic concepts that we have covered in our last lecture. So normally in our last lecture, So in our last lecture, we have spoken about the various type of internal loadings that can be developed in a material when it is subjected to external forces. We have also seen that the exact distribution of this internal loading about any section in a body is always unknown. Hence, to encounter this, we can simply use the equations of equilibrium to relate the external forces that are being acted on the body to the internal distribution of the forces by a equivalent resultant force and a moment which we represented by FRMMR0 at any specific point O on the section area. See, what we have assumed is, let us say this was our body that we have considered in our last lecture. It was subjected to forces F1, F2, F3 and F4. So what we have done here is, we wanted to study the internal distributions that is being produced at a particular section. Let us say it was this section. So what we did, we divide this body into two equal halves, a top half and a bottom half, right? So we have taken this part of a body which actually looked like this. And we have seen that whatever be the type of internal loadings that we assumed to be distributed across the this assumed area, or we can say exposed area. So in order to relate these external forces with these internal loadings at this particular section, we have actually replaced this by two resultant forces which we denoted by FR and MR0. So, and we assume that these two forces pass through a certain point O. So it actually looks like this. Let us say this is A, this to be B, and this is figure C. Okay, so we have this way. Let us say this is F1, this is your F2. Now we assume that these two forces will assume to pass through this point O. See, later on we will see that this point O is oftenly chosen as the centroid of the sanctioned area. So for most of the problems that we will be dealing in mechanics of materials in the future lecture, we will assume this point as the centroid. So FR is what? It is the algebraic resultant of all the forces, resultant of, we can say, of all the concentrated forces. All right, so it was resultant of all concentrated forces. whereas mr is the resultant moment due to all these concentrated forces. We call this as resultant moment due to this concentrated forces. Okay. Fine. So we assume Fr to act like this, and we assume Mr to act, Mr0 to act like this. Now in order to find out the direction in which this resultant moment will act, we already know from the basics of engineering mechanics that we normally use right hand rule. We actually normally use the right hand rule in order to determine the direction of this resultant moment. Now under this right hand rule, thumb actually shows the sense of the vector, or we can say arrowhead sense of the vector, or simply we can say direction of the vector. It represents the sense of the vector, whereas fingers, what do the fingers represent? Fingers actually shows the tendency for rotation, or we can say twisting or bending. It is the tendency for rotation. Alright. So we have also seen that it will actually, by right hand rule, it will assume to act in anti-clockwise sense. Now this Fr was divided into two components. One component was normal or perpendicular to this exposed or the sanctioned area, and we represent this normal component as the normal force denoted by N. And this force N is responsible for changing the dimensions of the body. Either it will be extend in this direction, or it will tend to reduce in size if the direction of this normal force is reversed. In other words, we can say N, if it is in positive, if this force results in the extension of a body, we call this as tensile force. And if due to this force, if we reverse this direction of the normal force, due to this force there will be a reduction in the dimensions of a body. Such a force we call it as, let us represent Nt by tensile force, we call that component as compressive force. Okay. Now there is another component of this force which is just parallel to this exposed area, or we can say which lies in the plane of this exposed area. We call this component of force as shear force, and this is responsible for changing the shape of the body, or we can say this is responsible for creating distortion in the body. So we call V as shear force. Okay, we call V as shear force. Similarly, it has got this moment also have got two components. One is T, which is the twisting moment or the torsional moment. It is actually, if we use the right hand rule, the direction will be in this, it will be anti-clockwise, and this will tend to twist the body, twist one section of a body with respect to other section of a body. And similarly, there will be another component which is just parallel to this exposed area. We call this as MB, which we call it as bending moment. All right. So T, we call it as torsional moment, and MB we call it as bending moment. See, torsional moment is always the twisting which occurs due to this torsional moment, it will always be perpendicular to the area considered, whereas this force bending moment, it is actually caused by the external loads that may tend to bend the body in the axis which is lying in the plane of this exposed area. So that is the reason this is just parallel to the exposed area. So that is what we have covered. See, so far all these cases are applicable to any type of body. Now see, there is one more simplification to find out the internal loadings in any body which is subjected to coplanar system of forces. See, this type of system we have considered forces are non-coplanar. The forces can be applied from any plane, they can be applied in any direction, and they can be applied from any point. Now what about those bodies which are subjected to purely coplanar loading? Let us try to see how do we estimate out the internal loadings for such bodies which are actually subjected to coplanar loadings. Alright, so we'll just try to see. Before that, let us save this. Let us save this as P5. Okay, so second topic that we are covering will be internal loadings in case of coplanar loading. Internal loadings for a body subjected to coplanar loadings. Internal due to coplanar loadings. Let us assume we have a body like this, any arbitrary body like this. Let us say we have got any arbitrary body like this, and let us say it is subjected to some certain forces like this, which are lying only in one plane. Let us say it is acting like this. Let us name this as F1. Let us name this as F2, and let us name this as F3. And we wanted to study the internal loadings across this section of the body. Let us name this as section XX dash. XX dash. Now, please remember one important point here. Let us say mention this as important point, or we can say note. Please note it down. It will be very, very useful for solving these type of problems. Okay. Now, please remember, if a body having any arbitrary shape and size, is subjected to coplanar loading. If it is subjected to coplanar loading, or we can say forces, as shown in this figure. Let us name this as figure 1. As shown in the figure 1. As shown in figure 1, then at any section, of this body, you take either you take this section, you take this section, or you take this section. Okay, you take any of the section in any part of a body, then any section there will be is subjected to, that any section is always subjected to shear force, normal force, and bending moment components. Okay, please remember this point, bending moment components. See, this is only applicable for coplanar loadings. If we want to see diagrammatically, if we just wanted to find out the internal loadings at section X, X dash, so it will somewhat look like this. This is this F2, this is F3, right? So this section, let us name this as x-axis and let us name this as y-axis. So at this section, it will be subjected to shear force which is parallel to this surface V. It will be subjected to a normal force N, and it will be subjected to some bending moment M0. Now, depending upon the problem considered, their direction could be reversed. Okay, so for a coplanar system of loadings, only these three components will act at any section of a body. Alternatively, we can say these will be the three components of internal forces, right? So the next question is, how do we obtain this Vn and m0? So we use equations of equilibrium to estimate out these internal loadings. We use equations of equilibrium to estimate out these forces. All right. So we use summation of Fx is equal to 0. Since it is a two-dimensional body, we will use this equation. Summation of Fy is equal to 0, and summation of moments due to these forces will also be equals to 0. So we are going to use, to solve these type of problems, we will be using equations of equilibrium to find out the internal loadings at any section of the body. Okay, so let us save this. Now, to illustrate this concept, let us take a quick example of how we can find out the resultant internal loading at any section of different type of beams. So we will be taking a very common example of a cantilever beam here. Let me rub this. So we'll just quickly take a very small problem. We take an example of a cantilever beam which is subjected to a triangular load. So let us name this as practice problem to illustrate this concept. Let us name this as practice problem number 1. Okay. So let me write down the problem. Determine the resultant internal loading acting on a cross section at point C of the cantilever beam as shown in the figure. As shown below. So the cantilever beam actually looks like this. Okay, cantilever beam actually looks like this. This is a fixed portion. This is your beam. This is point C. This is point B and this is point A. So we have to find out the resultant internal loading that will be acting at point C. As we have already mentioned, it is actually subjected to a uniformly varying load, or we can say triangular load in this way. And the magnitude of load is 270 Newton per meter. Okay, the magnitude of this load is 270 Newton per meter. All right. Now, this point C is located at a distance of 3 meter from point A. And between B and C, the distance is 6 meters. All right. So let us try to work out the resultant internal loadings that acts at point C on this beam, on this cantilever beam. So let us say solution. So what we do, see, you can actually solve this problem by taking any one of the two sections. Either you take section AC or you take section BC. Okay. Now, if you want to take section AC, you have to estimate out two reaction forces here. One horizontal reaction force and another one is the vertical reaction force. Whereas BC, you don't have to find out any reaction forces. So whatever you find it easy, you can opt for any of these two sections. Let us consider here, for our sake of convenience, let us take section BC. Alright. So at the section BC, it will actually looks like this. It will somewhat looks like this. So let me draw section BC here. Let me draw section BC here. Alright. So let us take section BC here. This is point C and this is point B. Alright. So let us say, see, this magnitude is actually changing and it is coming to be 0 at point B. So we need to find out the magnitude of uniformly distributed triangular load, uniformly varying triangular load acting at point C. So let us assume at point C, the intensity of the load acting from C to B is W unit Newton per meter. Okay, so let us assume, and we will take equal proportions and then we will try to estimate out the value of this W. So let us assume intensity of loading at C, intensity of loading at section BC. This is 6 meter. Intensity of loading at section BC. Let us say this is to be W Newton per meter. W Newton per meter. Okay. Now, see, once we find out the magnitude of this force that acts in section BC, we then have to replace this linearly distributed load by a single equivalent resultant force. But before that, we need to find out this magnitude. So how we can find out this magnitude? We can actually find out the intensity of this distributed loading at C by proportion. Now, if you look out at this figure, what will be the total proportion of this load in AB? So it will be 270 over 9, and this will be equal to the proportion of this. See, this actually loads divides into equal proportion at each and every section. So that is the reason all proportions will be equal in case of linearly distributed loading. So what will be the proportion of the distributed loading in section BC? It will be W, that is the assumed loading, divided by 6. Okay, so these proportions will be equal. So let us try to find out the magnitude of W from this equation. Let us name this as equation number 1. So W will be 270 into 6 divided by 9. 3 3 is 9, 3 2 is 6, 90, and it will be roughly 180 Newton per meter, which means that from point C towards B, it is subjected to a magnitude of 180 Newton per meter. Alright, now this is step number 1. We have already worked out for intensity of distributed loading at point C. Now we need to convert this distributed loading into a single equivalent force. Now since this is a triangular load, so how we can find out the a single resultant load? We can actually calculate. Let us name this as step number 2. Calculating resultant equivalent force. So it will be the area of this triangle. The intensity of this loading in case of triangular load will be the area of this triangle. So what will be the area of this triangle? It will be let us say FC is the force acting on it, FBC. So it will be half into base into height. This is the formula for the area of a triangle. So what will be the base here? Base from this to this, it is 6 meter. So we will just put 6 meter. And this will be your height. So this is nothing but 180. So it will be roughly 540 newtons. Okay. So this is a single force that will be 540 newton. Now this force normally acts at the centroid of this triangular section. Now what will be the distance? Let us say that distance to be CD. So it will be, the centroid is roughly 1/3 of the base, or we can say 1/3 of 6. So it will be 2 meter. See, I am assuming you guys already have a basic knowledge on linearly distributed loading and how do we convert these type of linearly distributed loading into a equivalent single load and which passes through a common point C, which we oftenly refer to as centroid. Alright, so from C, this 540 Newton will act at a distance of 2 meter. So it will actually looks like this. Let me use this. This section actually looks like this. This is C, this is B. Okay, this is roughly 6 meters. Now from this we have got a point D here. This is the centroid and this is 540 newtons. Okay, now this is point D and this is 2 meter. This is 2 meter. Okay, see, this is purely a case of coplanar loading. Okay, so let us name this as point D. So we need to find out the resultant internal loading at point C. So we have already mentioned that for a system subjected to coplanar forces, there will be at any point, at any section, there will be one normal force and there will be one shear force and there will be one moment acting on it, M0. Okay, so we have got these three forces that will be these three internal component of forces that will be that we have assumed to act through C. Now let us try to use the equations of equilibrium in order to find out the magnitude of these forces. So let us say step number 3. Using equations of equilibrium, all right? Using equations of equilibrium. Now, see, we have got summation of fx is equal to 0, summation of fy is equal to 0 and summation of m about point O will be 0. Okay. Sorry, we have to take moment about point C. We have to take this moment about this point. Okay. So, see, please remember one thing. For moments, I am taking one sign convention and I will be using the same sign convention in all of the problems that we will be solving in the coming lectures. We'll be solving in the coming lectures. So if a moment will be positive if it is anti-clockwise, please use the same sign convention, and it will be negative if it is clockwise. Okay. So I will be using this sign convention in order to apply the equations of equilibrium. So let us say this is your x-axis and let us say this is your y-axis. Alright. So let us use the first equation. Summation of fx is equal to 0. It is going in the negative x. So let us say minus n. See, if you see in this section, there is no horizontal component other than n. So we simply say minus 0 is equal to 0. So n is nothing but 0. So your normal forces at point C, let us see this is MC. Let us call this as VC and let us call this as MC. So NC will be 0. So your normal component at this section is 0 Newton. It has got no value. Now second, let us try to use summation of Fy is equal to 0. See, this VC is going in positive y, so it will be VC, this is coming downwards, minus 540 is equal to 0, which means that your shear forces is 540 Newton. Okay, your shear forces is 540 Newton. Okay, fine. Now what about this MC? So what we do, we take moment of all the forces that is acting on section BC with respect to point C. Now, if you just try to see this MC, this is, since this is a moment itself and it is going with respect to this point, it is trying to rotate the body in anti-clockwise, it is trying to rotate the body in clockwise direction. So we will take it negative. So let us say MC. Let us write it down as taking moments about C. So it will be minus MC. Now see, if you just try to see 540 into what will be the moment arm, or we can say perpendicular distance, this will be with respect to point C, it is 2 meter. And it is with respect to point C, this force tends to rotate the body in clockwise direction. So we will take it negative sign. So minus 540 into 2 will be 0. There is no other forces acting on it. So it will be minus MC is equal to 1080 Newton meter. Now MC will be what? MC will be minus 1080 Newton meter. See, please remember one thing. If you got whatever the direction you assume, if you got negative sign in your calculated values, please don't assume that it is wrong. It just simply shows that whatever the actual direction of the moment will be opposite to what you have assumed in your problem. See, here we have assumed the moment to act in the clockwise direction, but in actual the moment will be acting in the anti-clockwise direction. Okay, so this is the only significance of negative sign. Don't be confused about it. So let us draw the internal forces across the section BC. So we'll take this. Oops, let me draw a straight line. Let us say this section point C, point B and point D. It is subjected to a load of 540 Newton. So here see, NC direction is already okay. V is already corrected what we have assumed, VC, and the moment actually will be in this direction, MC. Okay, so these are the internal loadings that will be acting at section C. Okay, so let us stop it here and we will continue our discussion by taking more problems in the coming lectures. So thank you all, and please like, comment, share and subscribe in case you like my videos, and any other queries you can contact me either through the comment section or you can personally email it to me. You can find my email ID in the channel description. Thank you so much. Take care.